Okay, I think I'm about ready to do the first one of these, looking back at famous WWE matches and seeing how perspectives can change. Maybe the end result of this can be maybe a list of top matches under some conditions or something, but that's a far into the future sort of thing. Right now, it's just one match at a time for what I expect will be a long stretch of time. And this time, the first time, I want to talk about the WrestleMania 20 main event. Benoit versus HBK versus Triple H. It's one of those matches that a lot of people give 5 stars. So I was interested to look back and see what it was. I mean, I've never rated this match before. When this happened, I was still 100% in the mode of I want to see the babyface win, and that's all that matters. Even more so with this match because of the way they built Benoit up for the championship. They stacked the odds against him, with General Manager Paul Heyman being evil, number one in the Rumble, all that kind of stuff. That's what I really went for when it came to, what characters am I going to get invested in, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that, in favoring the underdog. That's why I will always and forever appreciate Mick Foley for what he is. I might find myself going back to those matches where his build-up was geared towards a desire to take bumps or go to the top of the cell as opposed to actually trying to win his matches. I could go back to that and say that, okay, realize it's not actually really good pro wrestling, but I will always appreciate Mick Foley as an underdog character. It would be foolish to argue otherwise because I would say Triple H's credibility owes itself almost entirely to that character, but I go off on a tangent, listen to me. The point of all that is, we know that this WrestleMania 20 main event was built to perfectly from Benoit's side. There's a whole other question of whether they managed to effectively convince us that HBK should have been in this match, but that debate doesn't really go anywhere because in the end, it was Benoit's build-up that drove interest in the match. As long as that delivered, everything else was easily overlooked. We had effective build-up and the right man won. Check on those two things. That's all there. That's what I cared about at the time. Now, what I enjoy most in pro wrestling is the drama that you can create from bell to bell. And I rate my matches on how much drama we get out of it and how smartly it's worked. So this match, well, the first thing that I noticed in both the video package and the commentators offer us this idea as well, is that Benoit and HBK might work together against Triple H. Okay, that's an obvious path they could take. Interesting idea to give the match direction. I'm intrigued. Note of caution though, Triple H is heel. Don't cause confusion along the way. Show me that your smart idea to work in this dynamic will not cause confusion. And I have to say, they did a great job in the first minute or two. It wasn't a double team attack, it was a game of one-upmanship. Who can wear down Triple H the best? It was a very, very nice opening, and instantly when that happened, I was in the mode of, that's how I want the bulk of this match to be structured. A story that is essentially everything you can do, I can do better. And that does not mean that Triple H can't still look good. You can have one-on-one HBK Triple H exchanges where Triple H wins, and then Benoit succeeds where HBK fails. You can have Triple H work over both guys at different times and have the whole idea of who between Benoit and HBK has better endurance. All that kind of stuff. Considering Benoit to me has a much grittier yet more vivid idea of selling than Shawn Michaels, there's no doubt in my mind that all of these ideas benefit Benoit in terms of credibility. No doubt at all. So that's my idea of a triple threat match that I could see myself giving 5 stars. In reality, the WWE format of triple threats isn't quite as deep. It's a spot fest format, so you're essentially looking for well built up spots, a growing energy and excitement for each near fall, and I would hope that they protect guys' finishers along the way. This match, after the opening minutes that filled my mind with all these interesting ideas, it does digress into more of the expected format, but there's absolutely no way I could argue, and I don't see how anyone else could argue this either, that this match does nothing to stand out. Benoit's striking, his moments of dramatic selling, still really good. His use of the triple German suplexes, I think, once I watch more stuff, I'm going to start identifying this format of there are certain moves in that WWE workers will use to allow for transitions that never actually result in the victory, and therefore are very predictable and a very bad aspect of WWE style. I want to watch more, obviously before I victimize Angle and Benoit for that as far as the suplexes are concerned. I might be wrong, I can't say for sure, but, something like The Rock's sharpshooter, for example, gives me a bad feeling about this kind of stuff. I mean, The Rock never, as far as I know, won a match with the sharpshooter, but I expect I'm going to see him, change control of his matches with it. The result is that it's predictable and affects my enjoyment. So, but I elaborated on that because I wanted to commend HBK, the way HBK sells the German suplexes here. His desperate flailing around, reaching for the ropes, it's all good stuff. From memory, the most common attempt at drama in those suplexes was the idea that Benoit might be too tired to hit all three, as opposed to, any sort of effort from the opponent to get out of them. More effort from the opponents would probably have been a better path to take with those than what we actually saw a lot of the time. So it was good to see variance on that in this match. It was definitely one of HBK's better moments in the match because, it's hard to judge exactly who was the weakest guy in this one because, Benoit was the best guy by a fairly comfortable margin. But HBK had good moments and weak moments, but Triple H, though, was just kind of there. I should probably say that he was the weakest because he was so forgettable, but HBK did have some bad points. I mean, he was good when he was selling what Benoit was dishing out to him at that very moment, but long-term selling wasn't all that great. I mean, especially once the blood started to flow. I mean, take a strike and stagger around with a bit too much movement. I confess that I would rather watch how Liger reacted to the blood in the match, but I recommend it to you guys at the top of the list in my last video. So that's kind of individual performers, how they did as far as, how they did. As far as memorable moments are concerned, not enough 5 stars. I think it should be obvious at this point that I would not give this 5 stars, but there are definitely some memorable moments. It doesn't abuse finishers, the match doesn't, that's step 1. That puts it above stuff like Vengeance 2002, for example, or something like Triple H versus Undertaker from this year. Although, before the best spot in the match, in my opinion, which I will identify in a moment, we had a crossface, a Sweet Chin Music. That's 2 successful finisher hits with no real excitement. So that's something to take into account. But the best spot in the match, the announce table spot, the spot that could very easily be accused of feeling obligatory rather than strategic, more than any other spot that WWE style incorporates. That's another aspect of the style that I'm wondering how it will affect my enjoyment of some of the matches. The one in this match was great. A legitimately great spot in my mind. It feels obligatory when Triple H is trying to do it. Gets a bit more interesting when Benoit turns the momentum before Triple H even has a chance to attempt the spot. And then HBK gets involved and it's unpredictable already. And then they use the spot for character development between Triple H and HBK. It all comes together from a work standpoint and a character standpoint to make the spot a memorable spot. So plenty of credit goes to that. The way they introduced Benoit into the match also made an otherwise predictable finisher spot quite worthwhile, I would definitely say, which is very pleasing to see. The finish stretch, I thought was very good. Benoit, the counters to the pedigree are yet another thing that I'm wondering, is it going to annoy? Although annoy really isn't the right word. It's not annoying as much as it is unimaginative, but still, Benoit did a fine job milking drama out of the sharpshooter. He removes Shawn Michaels from the equation with satisfying desperation. And obviously Triple H in the final submission. The one time he does try to roll out of it, it makes all the difference. Benoit manages to keep it locked in. It really does make a huge difference to how dramatic that finish is. They could have done more with it, obviously, but that one attempt adds a lot. And that's it. What do I give it? I would say 4 stars. It had several good moments, and I was mostly interested all the way through. But Anyone who wants to argue that this is a perfect match, to me, has an uphill battle to climb. I expect that I will be able to find at the very least 20 matches from the 2000s decade alone that are better than this one, but it was very enjoyable nonetheless, and certainly works effectively as a WWE style spot fest. So that is that match. I have no idea at this time what match I will do next, but there's plenty of choice, so I will not be struggling to find another match, that's for sure. Leave your comments, leave your feedback, and I will see you later.